Hello, and welcome back to the Modeling Success in Action podcast. I'm your host, Jessica, and today I am joined by Emily. And Emily is the owner and operator of EO Fitness and Yoga, delivering fitness and yoga to your location. At EO Fitness and Yoga, a certified personal trainer and yoga teacher comes directly to your home, workplace, or outdoor location to deliver a workout that's safe, fun, and effective. Emily has been a certified personal trainer since 2016 and a certified yoga teacher since 2018. And she has a lifelong history with and a love of sports, physical activity, fitness, and yoga have transformed her mental health, her physical health, and spiritual wellness in so many ways that she feels that her true passion is to share this knowledge and experience with others. Her biggest joy is in seeing people do things that they thought that they never could. And I'm so happy to have Emily here with us today because I have actually seen the impact of her work firsthand. She's come out and she has delivered this exact thing, fitness where you are, meeting you where you're at, to my clients in a couple of group sessions. So Emily, I'm so glad to have you here. Welcome to the show.
Yay! Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Yay! I love that.
Can't wait.
Excellent.
Can't wait for this conversation.
Same. I have been looking forward to it. So Emily and I, like I say, we've had a relationship for a while where she has generously come and used her time to help some of my clients work through getting in tune with their body and getting into their physicality, and the feedback has been fantastic. But I don't know the whole background. What I do know is that she really is always putting an intention behind the movement. Anytime we've had her come to a class, we're always setting the intention. Why are we here today? What do we want to move? What do we want to shift through? What's the purpose of this movement? What's it giving to us? So Emily, I'd love to hear from you, like what your experience is with movement and mindfulness and mental health. Like what's it been like for you to go through this journey?
Wow. So it's been lifelong. Whenever anybody talks about anything, especially my therapist, whenever she asks me a question, my answer is usually it's non-linear. It's non-linear. Things happen the way they're supposed to happen, the way they unfold. Yeah, fitness has changed my life in crazy ways. I started weight training when I was really young. I actually hurt my knee snowboarding when I was 19. And as a result, I realized that I needed to strengthen the muscles around the knee joint and that it wasn't actually the joint that was injured. I just really needed to re strengthen it again. I thought that it was going to be a bum knee and sore forever. And I had all sorts of different careers. I've had all sorts of different careers that have been about customer service, about supporting others, about working one on one with others. Everything has always been, customer service oriented. And I went to school partly for social work, and I have a background in crisis and suicide prevention at the Crisis and Suicide Prevention Center. So my passion has always been to uplift others and help others in a one-on-one capacity or a group setting. I just didn't know how I was going to do that as a career. I thought I was going to do that as a social worker. I thought I might do it as another type of therapist, get a degree. And in the end, movement, fitness, exercise, it's always been my personal passion. So it just made the most sense for as a transition of career. And here we are, 5, 10, 8 years later, and the universe just keeps reflecting back to me that this was the right choice, that I am here to help others and that people are gaining value from what I have to share. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. And it's interesting too, because I know that like as we move into, these decades of wellness and health and a holistic way of looking at it, the landscape of like mental health care actually has changed to include a lot of somatic stuff, a lot of physical embodied kind of things to help shift and move. They're realizing now that the mind, the body, the connection, that book, The Body Keeps the Score, is all the rage, right? So I'm curious for you, when you had the knee injury and you thought like, hey, this is kind of it for me. Did you find that the rehab, like was it a way of kind of helping you shift that perspective, or what happened there?
So at the time, like I said, I've had so many different careers. I was in school, and that was sort of the height of my personal, no, it was like sort of the low of my personal mental health, I should say. And I was just struggling a lot with my anxiety and my depression. And I used fitness and exercise and specifically yoga to transform my mental health. At one point, I was on medications. I've struggled for years. I've had really bad months, years of mental health struggle in terms of my depression and my anxiety. And one of the key tools that has sort of always consistently been there for me is movement and exercise and yoga in whatever shape or form that came in, whether it was running or martial arts or weight training. It's always been a tool for me to sort of expedite the process. It's like just one of many tools that people use to heal when they go through stuff. But I find that movement sort of helps you not become stuck in a specific space.
Isn't that interesting how when you move, you get unstuck?
It's so physical, it's so emotional, it's so theoretical and figurative and literal. It's all the stuff. Yeah, we used to joke about that in yoga, about how yoga is everything, man. It's everything. It's everywhere. Yeah.
It really is. It's a practice of, being, of life, right? So since you have so many different, kind of avenues that you use to get movement and physicality in, for you, have you found that there is a best form of exercise for your emotional health?
I think that the best exercise for anyone's emotional health, because I have many different forms, I think the best one for everyone is the one that they enjoy the most, the one that they will actually do the most often, and the one that motivates them and makes them feel good. So those are sort of the factors. Being social is a really big thing as well. It's different for everybody. My whole point is that there isn't just any one. You're allowed to have many and they can change over time. What works for you now might not work for you later. And I always tell clients the best exercise is the one you'll actually accomplish and look forward to.
So, okay. So if you're in a low mood, say you're having, stress or, intense sadness or, fears or worries or whatever, and you're just like at a low capacity mentally, how does one end up getting the motivation to even move their body, right? I know that a lot of people feel so helpless that they're like, the most comfortable thing right now would be, to be on the couch with a bag of chips. So how does one even allow themselves to get into that?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So I think what you're describing is that lack of motivation during depression that happens, and the last thing you want to do is exercise. The very last thing. Sometimes I can't even shower. I'm so low motivation, low energy, and I also relate that to burnout. Also, like depression can also look like burnout sometimes when you're going too hard and you're not listening to yourself and then you crash and then you go from full productivity to like zero productivity. So the smallest things, baby steps, stretching, getting on your mat, stretching, that's movement. Not all movement needs to be painful and it doesn't always need to feel like a disciplined action. All it needs is intention. So as long as you have the intention to move and feel better and breathe and move through stuff, walking, low intensity. I suggest really low intensity stuff. Going out for a walk, like I said, making it social, getting out with a friend, a partner, a dog, a cat, whatever needs to happen. Yeah, make it fun, make it low intensity. Baby steps, baby steps. If there's any two words that I want you to say to yourself when you're depressed, it's baby steps. Because they get you somewhere
Baby
slowly.
step.
Yeah, you'll get somewhere. Maybe not fast, but you'll get somewhere. And that
Yeah.
kindness towards
And
yourself, right? That kindness, that kind, loving voice of like, I don't need to run a marathon today. Like, I just need baby steps.
Yeah. And I think it's that, the willingness to allow yourself to be flexible and to take the rules and rigidity out of it. Because a lot of people are like, well, if I don't have an hour to get to the gym and do a full workout, then I'm not going to get movement in today. Whereas, if they were willing to stand up from their desk and just stretch and walk to the water cooler and then sit back down and, maybe do a little walk while they're taking a phone call or something. Those are the ways that we can kind of weave this into our life that can lower that pressure dial.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There are days where I go very hard because I can, just because I can. I'm in the headspace. I've built up to something. I'm feeling good. I've had a great week. And then there are other days where I just do the bare minimum, and showing up is good enough. And I'm really proud. And I give myself a pat on the back for stretching when I didn't want to. And it's not, and it's like not, I'm not, it's not a character flaw that I did a low intensity movement today. Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, you're still taking care of yourself. And it sounds like you're also allowing yourself to like have some, gentleness, some self-forgiveness, and then rewards as well. So what would you, if you could look back on that younger version of you who was just starting out in this, and I'm sure there's other people who are in the same position you were in back then, feeling kind of like hopeless about it all or in that pit, right? What would you say to that younger version of you or anyone else who's in that spot right now?
I would tell that person that everything is temporary. Nothing is forever. Everything is temporary. That's why we know that this is going to pass. Anything really terrible is going to pass. And anything really wonderful is going to pass too. So we have to cherish it. For that reason, we have to really cherish the good stuff. And that movement, any type of movement, I promise you, will help you move things through faster, whether it's trauma or disappointment or grief or whatever it is we go through life, whatever it is, it's you moving, continuing to move in some capacity is going to help you not get stuck. Yeah, it's those blockages, right, that we want to avoid. Yeah, it's okay to take breaks. We just don't want to stay anywhere too long.
Yeah. So everything is temporary, including the rest.
Yes, exactly. And that's
Yeah.
necessary.
I love that.
Pro athletes have very disciplined rest time, very disciplined stretching, maintenance, massage, all that self care stuff that goes with high productivity. And we want to be in it for the long run. So, in terms of the
Yeah.
highs and the lows of my mental stability, I really want it to be less high, less low, and a little bit more steady for the long course.
Mm. Yeah. More of this, less of those big dips and curves. Totally. And it's
Exactly.
it's interesting that you notice, you point out that like those high level, those high functioning, successful people, they understand that, you can't just go full steam ahead on one thing and, forever. You have to take breaks. You have to, get flexible, do it, all of the things instead of, I can only have it this one way. It really does allow for that growth, I would say.
One of the leading mental health specialists, she talks regularly about how mental flexibility, emotional flexibility is sort of the indicator, just like physical flexibility and physical strength is the indicator of mental health and emotional well-being. So is emotional flexibility. So when you are able to cope and have tools to be flexible, that's where we all want to be.
Yeah. That really is a lot of the work that I'm doing with my clients is helping them become more flexible, helping them have a little more faith and trust in, that you can break the rules, you can do it a different way, you can let go of some of that old stuff and, have new experiences that work just as well or better, right? That get you what you need without all that negative stuff. Cool. Okay. So when you have a client that's coming to you and maybe they're in that position, like what do you tell people to help them get started moving and then stay moving, even when it feels challenging to them? Like, do you have any tips tips or tricks? Like, what do you do with those people?
It's all about integrating it into their lifestyle. Like I said, we have to have that kind, gentle voice. It can't be punitive. There's really no room for shame and guilt. So a huge part of it is shifting that mindset. Um, if you are not ready for that, that I'm very understanding that maybe I'm not the coach for you and that I will hold space and I'll be here when you are ready for that. But when you're ready to shift your mindset into being the self efficacy. So the whole point is that if we're doing something that we've never done before, or maybe sometimes people have done it before and they think they can never get there again, whatever that may be, it's helping people shift that mindset. Basically, it's sort of the beginning stages and of wanting to build it into their life and have fun and be kind to yourself, making it social. I've repeated that many times. Scheduling it in a way that works for you, doing things that are fun. Yeah, there's so many kinds of movement. You don't have to lift weights in the traditional way. You don't have to do reps and sets. There's so many Pilates, there's yoga lattes, there's bar, there's kickboxing, there's so many like things that you could be enjoying. It doesn't have to be hard. Yeah, hard work doesn't
Yeah.
have to be hard. I don't know how else to say it. Let's not make it
Well,
harder than
getting
it
your
has to be.
right, exactly. Getting your outcomes can be as easy as you make it, right? You can make it as easy as you want to make it on yourself by lowering that pressure, by letting yourself be flexible, by giving that forgiveness and the grace and, that allowance for being human, right?
Hmm. Hmm. And we know those
Yeah.
chemicals are going to happen. If you do the movement, whether it's, yoga lattes or what is the dancing one that people do, Zumba, whatever it
Zumba.
is, you're going to release those chemicals, the serotonin, the dopamine, the endorphins, all that good stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of almost like a fake it till you make it situation, right? Even if you're not feeling it yet, you just go and move your body and then the feelings follow the movement.
Doesn't this mirror a lot of success though? It's like a chicken and egg thing. You kind of have to behave the way you want before the success happens. And it's a circle of self efficacy, essentially. So, this is a formula for success, not just in movement, but this is something a lot of successful people utilize to have high productivity. And in this case, productivity means emotional well being, happiness.
Yeah. I mean, that really is what like this whole modeling thing, that's what it comes down to. Act as if you are and then you will be, right? Step into the mindset and model of somebody who is feeling good and is active and healthy and their vitality is good, right? And they have a nice outlook on the world and they can take action on the things that they actually want in life. And all of that comes from being able to see, like, have a self-image of yourself and being willing to step into that first when it comes to movement or anything.
Literally
Yeah.
step into that, right? I
Literally.
love it.
Yes.
So we look at people who have what we want, right? There's success pillars of people who maybe they have money, maybe they are running big companies, maybe they're celebrities, whatever it is. And we want to be doing what they're doing. And what most successful people do as a part of their success is they love themselves enough to exercise and to move. And they recognize that that is one of the tools of success. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. They love themselves enough to exercise. And that really is the thing. Like, it comes down to feeling like it's worth it to take care of your health, right? Like, we know that every day we're going to go to the bathroom. We're not just going to hold it in forever. That would be insane, right? And it's the same thing. Like, it's a hygiene thing, right? It is.
Yeah, it's like
You can't,
flossing.
make
It's
yourself
like
sit
flossing.
still.
It's like a mandatory thing just to feel really good about ourselves. Yeah.
Yeah, right. To make sure that you stay, you know, able to handle the things that come at you. Because I mean, I'm sure you have clients who are, in their later years, and maybe they didn't move as much as they, should have or wanted to when they were younger. And you can kind of see the impact that it has on their bodies. Now, of course, luckily they have you to help support them now. But, what would happen if we got on that when we were 20 or 30 or in our 40s or whatever? We were able to make it just a part of our lifestyle so that you have that longevity, you have that health, and it's going to keep your mental faculties going long, long after those people that aren't doing the movement.
Yeah, the cognitive factors. So
Have you
they've
noticed
linked muscles, specifically women with large leg muscles. This is not causation, this is correlation. So it's linked. There's a correlation between women with big leg muscles and a lowered risk of cognitive decline. Yeah. And I've shared this with a
that's
doctor
actually
client.
amazing.
Yeah, it was a doctor client of mine. And she was like, well, that's not the causation. The causation is all the other stuff that made their legs big, like walking in the forest, like doing squats and lunges, like going for a run, like picking up their kids from school. All that stuff caused them to have a lowered big legs. And the correlation is that they're much lowered risk of dementia, because dementia has to do with connection as well, right? And movement is often hand in hand with connection. We often do it in a social way,
Yeah.
or we
Coming back to
can
that
if
social
we
part.
choose
So
to.
you keep saying, you, well, yeah. I mean, I know you see most of your clients one to one, but how do you get them to do the social part? Like, how do you bring this social aspect in?
The reason I mention it is because I always try and get them to book times with family members and friends. And I always tell them that they can bring people to sessions for free. I won't charge them for a partner session or a group session because I really want them to see the benefit and bond, the team building, the bonding, the connection, all that cool stuff that I learned from team sports. I was bullied in a lot of ways. I lived in a place where I was one of the only colored girls, and my mom was an immigrant, and we ate weird foods that smelled funny, and I just didn't look the same as everyone. So sports was like my place where I actually got to fit in, because fortunately, I really enjoy sports, and it taught me a lot of stuff about being a team member and how to connect with other people. And that was to this day, people remember me when we were young because of the connection that I had with them as a kid on the field playing sports. So as adults, I really like to connect people in small group or partner settings where they can have that fun together and experience that together and commit to something like that together.
That's amazing. Do you find that the people who are willing to bring the social aspect in, they have, there's more recurrence with them, or that they stick to it, or that it becomes more motivating for them? Like, what are you noticing with those people that actually allow that to happen?
Totally. Exercise adherence is so much higher when you make it social because it's lifestyle factors. Lifestyle factors. If you have people who support your goals versus people who don't support your goals, my friendship circles have changed immensely since I have become more successful. And by successful, I mean more happy and more well adjusted, and you know what I mean? All those things, and more self regulated. So in that journey, I have a totally different set of friends, and that's okay. And the more success I have, I mean, we all know our circle is very important. We don't need to get too deeply into that. But as a result, my circle is healthy, happy, active. There are people like you who run small businesses and feel so fulfilled and happy. They're living their best life, their dreams.
Yeah. It's amazing how when you change one thing in your life, it really does ripple out, right? When you start moving and it, shifts your mindset, and it shifts the way that you see the world, and it shifts the way you interact with the world, and it shifts the way the people respond to that. And like, it's just, it's endless. It just goes. And it for me, I mean, obviously I see change happening every single day in my office, right? There are people coming in one way and they leave another way, but it's the really cool thing is like the stuff that they're like, oh, I didn't even know that that was going to happen. Like I had a client who came in for, it was fear of the dentist, and we got her to let go of that. But what it really shifted was her friends were starting to come up and going, hey, you seem so much less stressed all the time, right? And her general level of like, operating stress was lower because there wasn't so much fear and worry all the time in the background, right? Where something's showing up in one place, you can be more than certain it's kind of everywhere, but maybe it's just magnified there, right? So that's really cool that it ripples.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is there anything else that you feel like you want to, express about the way that movement impacts your mindset before we say goodbye today?
I think we covered a lot of cool stuff that I wasn't expecting, which is exactly what we wanted. We wanted this to be organic. I don't know that I have a lot more to say outside of, if you want to learn more, if you want to move with me, please look up my information. My website should be up by the end of March 2025. Um, I encourage everyone to reach out, anyone who's struggling, anyone who is not struggling but wants to maintain or upgrade, or just have some positive influences in their life for fitness and exercise. Please reach out. I want to help. I want to hear from you. Yeah, and I want to get feedback. If you have any feedback for me and want to have a conversation, I love to have these types of conversations. I can talk about this all day. Yeah.
Yeah. And by virtue of having you as a personal trainer, as a coach, they are, buying into a little bit of that social aspect, right? There's somebody there with them when they're moving. There's someone to help motivate them, to help make it fun, to help keep them focused on the intention and the outcome. And so that is, it beyond just being able to give them, the technical and functional, support. You're providing this kind of capsule, this space to engage in it this way, which is a really beautiful thing. And like she said, Emily comes to you. She makes it happen where you need it to happen. And she really meets you where you're at physically and, emotionally and location wise. Like she does it online. She'll do it in your house. She do it in a park. It's pretty awesome. So thank you so much for joining me today, Emily. I hope that everybody who is listening got a little tidbit that they can take away and they're feeling inspired to move. Maybe some people started doing squats though they were listening to this, or lunging down the street. And of course, I'm going to leave all of your details and your information below in the details of the podcast. So if anybody wants to connect with Emily, there'll be ways to do that there. I think we've got the Instagram and LinkedIn. And yes, exactly. Yes, much love. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to say goodbye.
Thank you.